You're listening to the Hella Well with Danielle show, a podcast taking women of color on a journey exploring all things wellness and travel related. We're all about showing you how to put on your oxygen mask first and creating lasting self-care habits that will free you to travel the world and live the life you truly desire, and not one you have to fake loving. I'm your host, Danielle Washington. Now let's buckle up and start this journey. Welcome to the Hella Well with Danielle podcast, your weekly mental vacation from the daily grind for busy women who are just needing a moment to pause, breathe, and woosah. I am your host, Danielle Washington, and I recently was scrolling through Instagram and saw a really powerful reel from Zoe Osteria, maybe botching her name, but it caught my attention. In it, she's stating that every version of you existed with purpose. You needed that version to get through that phase in your life. And I was like, yeeks, that's powerful. Especially with my birthday right around the corner. It's on Monday, in case anyone's wondering. Yes, I'm a 9/11 baby. But with my birthday being around the corner, this message just felt like it was like a blaring megaphone saying, girl, we need you to look at some stuff in your life. So here I am. Today's conversation is really about us focusing on the dangers of letting past versions of ourselves overshadow our present, and really about really recognizing that each version of us existed with a reason. And but before we get into that, I wanted to do a breathing exercise like we always do, but I also wanted to give you guys an announcement. So I've been thinking, like, we did the August breather and I was getting a lot of good feedback from people, and it made me think of back in the day when I was a kid, because again, thinking about birthdays, I've been reflecting on parts of my life, and I'm just like, yo, back in the day, recess was everything. It was like a break from like studying. It was a break from a test. It was a break just from, and a chance to just to connect with friends and connect with joy. And so I was like, well, how can I bring this feeling into adult lives for other people who are busy? I was like, okay, let's create what I'm calling the soul and then full recess. I'm not sure how often I'm going to do this, but I had one earlier today and it was really powerful. So I'm going to be definitely doing it again. And I wanted to make sure you're aware of that. But also, as with every episode, I like for us to do a breathing exercise. So today's exercise, I want us to kind of focus in on releasing some tension that we may be having. So we're going to just do some simple inhaling and exhaling. But what you're going to do that's slightly different than we've done in the past is when you inhale, I want you to hold the breath and I want you to tense every ounce, every muscle of your body. I want you to tense it, and I'll let you know, like to hold for a couple of seconds and then release that. And when you release that, I want you to sigh out everything. So here we go. Get into a comfortable position, closing your eyes, begin focusing in on your breath, creating that space of peace within. And inhale deeply, 2, 3, 4. Hold and squeeze every muscle in your body. Squeeze your eyes, your fists, your toes, everything. And exhale. And again, inhale deeply. 2, 3, 4. Hold and squeeze, squeezing your stomach, squeezing your thighs, squeezing your butt, squeeze your shoulders. And exhale. One last time. Inhale deeply. Hold, hold, hold. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Make this one count. Squeezing everything that no longer serves you. And right now, exhale it out of your mouth with a sigh. And take a moment just to be still, to reflect. See how your body feels. Is it feeling a little bit more relaxed? And knowing this is a great way to, if you're feeling kind of anxious or your body feels a little bit off, this is a great breathing exercise just to do at any time and any place. So today's topic, again, we're talking about how important it is to recognize each version of us existed for a reason. And we often look back with a critical eye. I don't know about you, but I know I'm totally guilty of this. Like, I recall younger me and I totally have berated her. I berated her for living like with a victim mentality. I berated her for lacking self-worth. And in hindsight, I'm like, yo, I was throwing mad shade at my younger self because she was doing the best she could. And she needed to have those mindsets to get to where I am today. Like if I didn't go through those things, I wouldn't have the mindset I have right now. But it's so quick to say, oh, look at me now. I'm better. Like I was like back then, she was a hot mess. And this Instagram reel really had me shift my perspective on that. It urged me to reevaluate how I've been assessing past lives. But just beyond that, it has me just rethinking my past. And it's time for us to really start pondering the rippling effect of us comparing our past lives and focusing on the present and what lies ahead. Like our lives are filled with different versions of ourselves. Like you're not the same person you probably were 5 years ago. Heck, you may not even be the same person you were, a month or two ago. And with all these retrogrades going on, I don't know, things have been shifting in all of us. But each one of those versions of you has a distinct story, a unique lesson, and a purpose. And to understand this, I could take you back to 1990 when I first started going through moments when I was all about, how do I even say this? I went through extremes in that time period of my life to make people like me. I was hooking up with boys who I knew didn't like me. I was friends with people who I knew weren't my friends, but because they were the same color of me, I felt like this is how I had to live my life. Or I can take you back to 2004 when I moved to Italy. And that's when I opened up to the possibilities in life. That's when I allowed myself to just be open and try new things. And I discovered such a resilience and strength that I didn't know existed in me. I also realized that I was hella stuck in my ways. And that, again, helped me open up to the possibilities of, hey, maybe I may like eating horse. Or, hey, I may like doing this other crazy thing that I've done, which I'm not going to really talk about that happened in Italy. But again, Italy definitely woke me up to a lot of things in my life. But the lesson I wanted to have us go back to was the one that happened in 2018. That was a year for me that was like no other year. I've talked about it before because it is such a pivotal point in my life. And that's when I lost 6 people in my life, and the weight of the grief was unbearable. But I didn't realize that it was unbearable. You see, I thought I was handling the grief like a champ. I wasn't balled up in a corner like I was when my grandmother passed in 1994. Because this time I was grinding, I was doing my thing, and I wasn't letting grief stop me. What I didn't realize is that I was viewing the situation through an outdated lens. And the only way I can describe the situation or what I'm talking about this outdated lens is that I wear contacts and glasses. Well, I don't really wear glasses. I need to be wearing glasses, but I wear contacts. And the best way to describe it is it's like putting on the wrong prescriptions of contacts. I was viewing myself and my grief from this outdated lens. And despite the pain, I was telling myself, oh, you're doing fine, because I was reacting because I wasn't reacting as I did in the past. But that's the trap, isn't it? That's the trap. Us comparing our current self to our past versions and mistaking it from progress for healing. I thought I was progressing, but in reality, I was benchmarking my healing against a version of me that no longer existed. And I didn't realize at the time, but I was like, oh, that was mad wrong. But I didn't know because I was like, oh, you're better now because you're not balled up. And sometimes we're unconsciously wearing these outdated lenses and we just don't know it. And if I was going to be honest with myself and you right now, I'm in a space where I find myself trying to consciously wear outdated lenses. And what do I mean by that? I keep hoping that it will bring me back to a sense of comfort. But what's interesting is when you have that awareness that you are wearing these other like outdated lenses, you're like, this don't feel right. This doesn't like back in the day, this felt perfect. It fit right. I felt comfortable. It used to feel like just like everything was perfect because it was my comfort zone. And right now I'm in a moment of the unknown. Right now I'm in a moment of this new phase, this newfound sight. And all of me is like, I want to go back to that last high. I want to go back to that moment where I felt confident and secure in the phase in life that I was in. But now I can't. I can try, which is what I'm doing, but I'm trying and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel comfortable. It doesn't feel the best. But it's through this awareness that I'm actually trying to do this, that I could put on the right context. I can see through the right lens that's with me right now, the version of me that is going through a new phase. And I can utilize that new vision in the present, in the now, and not use my past beliefs, my past patterns, my past storylines that are making me miss the new opportunities, that are making me feel like I'm stagnant and that I'm stuck, that are making me feel disconnected because I'm trying to reach back and remember the glory days of, remember when you were at that one point in your life when you were healing and you got to a really high point and everything felt amazing, really good. Yeah, that's where I am. And it's just another example of me comparing myself to an older version. A version where I felt more comfortable than I do right now. Because I just haven't fully allowed myself to get cozy in this new phase. And instead I'm daydreaming about the last one. And it's not serving me. And as I reflect on my current situation, I can see where it's important to embrace and understand the lows and highs and the challenges that we face, because each of them are an integral part of this journey we call life. Like I knew this on some level, but it didn't stop me from chasing the past highs and running from the unknown, which I also realized is part of my healing journey habits that I need to focus on breaking. It's something, again, it's that awareness that I do this that I didn't necessarily have until thinking about this post and having this conversation. They're like, oh, girl, I think you do this often. That gets me thinking, okay, how can I get myself out of this? And you may be asking yourself, like, so what are the signs that you may be viewing life from an outdated lens? From personal experience, it's when I find that we are avoiding new opportunities or having emotional reactions we thought we'd outgrown, or facing situations from the perspective where we believed we had moved on from the past, but we hadn't. An example of that for me is like when I get defensive reacting to my parents. And I'm just like, yo, wait, hold up, girl. Why are you letting this situation trigger you? Despite all the healing work that you've done, all the self-work that you've done. And that's when I remember that, oh, wait, ding, 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 ding. You're viewing this conversation, you're allowing this situation to have you view this current moment from a past lens. And I don't always see it, but sometimes I do, and it's an opportunity for me to move past it. But when I think back to everything that happened in 2008, but when I think back to everything that happened in 2018, when I lost 6 people who I loved, I realized that in the midst of this intense grief and misjudgment of me thinking I was healed, this challenging phase was exactly what I needed to awaken to the life that I'm currently enjoying. And it goes back to that conversation Zoe was talking about, is that every version of you existed for a purpose. It was in that dark time in my life where I discovered the tools and practices that have become my guiding light, like Kundalini Yoga, like Reiki, like breathing exercises. It was this dark time in my life that led me to my inner reawakening, making me realize that every version, every phase of me has a reason. There is a reason for the season. That's interesting. I'm sure there's a phrase that says that. But there is a reason for every season. Even in the pain, I found my growth. I found probably one of the biggest growth moments I've ever had. And I get it, because back then, if I had someone tell me that, oh, one day you're going to be teaching yoga and it's going to be one of your greatest joys, I would have laughed so hard my stomach would have hurt. Yet here we are now. Because back then I hated yoga. And so it took an extreme low for me to wake up to realize that this is one of the greatest joys of my life, being able to teach. I love doing it on my own, but I also extraordinarily hella love teaching yoga. I love sharing this practice that's brought me so much joy. But that's just it. Our comfort zones, our limiting beliefs, our old narratives fog our vision to where we aren't always open to the next phase. So sometimes we need those challenges to level up. So here I am, days away from my last birthday in the decade of the 40s. And that there's a lot that's coming up with that. There's a lot of feelings that are coming up. And I sat there and I thought about it. I'm like, okay, as I get closer to this next birthday, I started thinking, like, what advice would I give my future self? So what came up is, whatever you imagine, or whatever you could imagine right now, the universe, God, source, whatever, is multiplying that tenfold. So stop boxing yourself in. There are limitless possibilities and limitless paths to the same destination. I was like, okay, that's some good advice I can give to my future self. But then I was thinking the reverse. Okay, so what advice would my future self give to the present day Danielle? And I think she would give us, I was thinking, like, what would she give? I think she would give this reassuring truth that it may feel uncertain, it may feel hella uncomfortable, but I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. And that at every stage of life, every version of ourselves holds meaning and purpose. Even if it doesn't feel like you understand it right away, it has a purpose. There is a reason. And this advice, I feel, is a gentle reminder to trust the journey, to embrace present moments, to know that each phase is a stepping stone to another. And I guess if I was simplifying it, she's telling me, have faith, girl. Have faith. Have faith in the process. Which makes sense, because the fact that there is a future self tells me that, girl, we made it through something a few times and we're good and you got this. So the biggest takeaway from this pre-birthday reflection, this Instagram post has got me thinking about, is that while it's tempting to compare our current self to our previous lives, or previous phases in our lives, it's important to treasure the present moment. Yeah, you can honor the teachings of the past, but we need to remain open to the endless possibilities that await us. So to all of you out there listening, remember that every version of you, the highs, the lows, the triumphs, the challenges, each serves a purpose. And each is needed to shape you into the person you are destined to be. By understanding and embracing every phase, with grace, with compassion, and periodically doing some checking to see what lens are you viewing your current life through, we can pave the way for growth, for understanding, and for a deeper connection of ourselves. And isn't that what life's about? I don't know. That's where I am. On that note, I will talk to you guys next week, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. If you want to share with me, you can send me an email, you can see a DM. Also, you can just write a review for this podcast saying like what this episode did for you. Did it make you think? And if anything, I just want to hear from you. I just love this to not be a one-sided conversation. And on that note, I'll talk to you guys soon. Ciao. Thanks for joining us this week on the Hello Well with Danielle show. Make sure to visit our website, hellowellwithdanielle.com, where you can subscribe to our show on iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon Music and never miss an episode. Also, you can follow us on social media at Hello Well with Danielle on Facebook and Instagram, and Hello Well Danny on Twitter. And if you like hella love the show and got some good nuggets out of it, know that I'm not too proud to ask for you to please leave a rating or review on iTunes so that we can continue to expand our reach and help other women of color. Again, thanks so much for listening, and I hope to see you next week. Ciao.